Yes, it's time to celebrate. It's Friday and we're giving you some good news. Sage is gone. It's time to say goodbye to the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, who are meeting regularly since January 2020 with Patrick Vallance, Chris Whitty, Jenny Harris, and all the other names, and many other faceless bureaucrats that you don't even know about. Haven't really seen them on TV. These people who met regularly to advise the government on lockdowns, to push for more lockdowns, whilst not really listening to the outside sources or any other advice externally. They shut down the whole debate and they blame the media for it, of course, even though it was them, the government, and the media all together created this propaganda machine. It's gone. They're not going to be meeting regularly anymore, and it's going to be a massive reform. And there are calls for obviously the reformation of this whole system. But Steve Baker, a top Tory rebel, has come out to say that as we now pick up the pieces after the collateral damage of lockdowns and restrictions, we see more clearly than ever before that we need competitive, multidisciplinary expert advice with challenge. Boris ought to implement the reforms now. And it's true, absolutely true, because they have already indicated that the whole thing, there's going to be a massive reform, but not just in terms of SAGE itself, but also the UK security, health security agency with Jenny Harris. And there have been indications that certain things that the model could potentially change, and they're looking into it. But again, I'll believe it when I see it. But let's focus on people like Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty, because they're not leaving the state. They're not leaving Whitehall. They're still going to be advisors to the central government. But the point of it is that the way this SAGE, the way they were meeting, the way they were obviously trying to have these discussions by not really listening to the external scientists and their whole agenda. And of course, there was a big group, and there were a number of others inside SAGE who were not all agreeing with each other in that sense. There were some people who were trying to create a debate or challenge Whitty and Vallance and the others. But in reality, the whole mood was to push for more restrictions, to provide more the negative and the end of the world scenarios, rather than actually do critical thinking. Sometimes, at times, they have come out to make speeches and release statements saying, well, we don't just do negative outcomes, we also kind of think about the positive outcomes. But why is it that you guys don't really push when it comes to your advice for the ministers, the Secretary of State for Health, Boris Johnson as Prime Minister? It ends up always being the negative outcome. But the trend continues that when your career is dead and when you're leaving something, then that's when you get a knighthood. Chris Whitty got a knighthood. We just had Gavin Williamson getting a knighthood. So when people get knighthoods these days, it's basically their P45, essentially, at this point. So let's celebrate. It's Friday. We're going to come back. We're going to give you more news stories throughout the evening as well. But I thought I'd start with some happy news. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.